is finances, because it's been a question on many people's minds. Now, we are not the first to be doing this. We're just the latest, because a lot of people have come to the conclusion that we don't know the full story about the prime minister's um, is financial. We don't know, not even the integrity commission that he established to investigate corruption in the country. They don't know. Nobody really knows. But we have been able to put some things together and arrive at some reasonable. We can draw some reasonable inferences from what is going on. And so tonight, what we'd like to do is present the evidence to you. And at the end of the day, it's up to you. You draw whatever inferences, whatever conclusions you want from it. But we're going to present the situation in a light that you will understand. We're not making up this. This is not contrived. This is not something that Mystic and I sat down and said, boy, I'm going to come up with some things and make up some things. This is a carefully thought out way of addressing the issue by looking at various sources, including the Integrity Commission. Including the Integrity Commission. And so what we're going to do is we want to start out with some videos. We will just play Kabaka Pyramid. And I think that's a seminar, one of the seminal songs when it comes on to corruption in Jamaica. Name of the song, Well Done, Mr. Politician Man. And he explains in it a whole range of shenanigans, including the fact that Jamaica is now a Chinese loan. What I think to say about our piece of the rock. What I think to say that our thing, but he's correct. He's correct. And then with this rare earth elements, yeah, it's going to be a bigger problem because up to now, like you heard today from our source, Alpha, you heard today that hundreds of millions of tons of red dirt in Jamaica that they have processed already for alumina. So it's just garbage right now. However, billions of dollars worth of REEs are to be found in those mud lakes. And the question is, who owns it? Who owns it? Nobody really knows. But if the Chinese step in and say we own it, because them own the plant down at Alpart, Nain, if them step in and say who going to stop them? Because Jamaica is a Chinese loan. Them control the port, them control the roads, them control the infrastructure. Them control almost everything that you need as an engine to make the country run. And them come in and they have their own way of doing things. And like you heard many times before, when the Chinese, when they come to your country, they come to your country with 100-year plan. They don't come with a plan for run, they come with a plan for steal. And Jamaica is going to have a serious issue because the US government warned Jamaica years ago and said, listen, you can't have these people coming in and doing all these things, giving you these loans at terrific rates. You can't just jump for that because you have to read the fine print. But it's one or two things that I wouldn't read the fine print. I would just not care. We take money from under the table. So where we're going to know, enough said. Oh, Kevin not finished yet. Okay. Hey, big up all of the people, them, the chat. Look for my family. Double Dutch, Andrea, Paula, G, and Jet. Missy. K, Merle. Yeah, the rebel is back. Paulette, who else there? Mega, Brooklyn safe now, Mega there.
Ratty, unfortunately, I cannot view the chat.
Man, you can, man. You can. Just go on. Just Google Reggae Global Radio, and you will see the chat. Zolita.
Okay.
Oh, T, big up yourself. Hold on a second, man. We have enough people. Now the chat here, man. Let me go back up here, son. Oh, 15 minutes ago. Hold on. Kevin there still no cancer, no miss Kevin. Kevin there, man. Kevin there.
Kevin then I place.
Yeah. Andrea. Oh, Andrea said the contract with the Chinese was in Mandarin. So them not understand it. Anyway, my family, here what we are going to know. We are going to show where this prime minister is coming from. And you're going to hear it. You know, it's one thing when I tell you that this is where he's coming from. It's another thing when he tells you where he's actually coming from. So make we start with this video here, our hard-working prime minister. I think this is the video. Make we see.
Involved in political life for more than 30 years. Yes, more than 30 years. It always gives me a sense of great pride, but also a sense of humility to consider that, I grew up in a 2-bedroom board house at 56 Cumberland Road, just up from the Grassyard Market in Spanish.
We're going to forgive him with a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom. We can't make an issue out of that. But that's another reason why we're here tonight. Whether I'm say 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, fact of the matter is him come from poverty. It's a board house and when you hear board house, you know where that go. And him come from just down the street or up the street from the Grassyard. We might tell you is that he never come from a middle class neighborhood. So we are going to work with that. I could continue.
So, I don't wear my background as a badge or try to exploit it or exploit my humble beginnings for political sympathy. I don't do it. I don't do it because I believe in working for what you have, regardless of where you come from. And Mr. Speaker, I have worked hard. People just see the achievements. They don't know the hours, the nights, the hard work. They don't know. I have worked hard, wisely, and honestly to achieve whatever I have. I never had a gold spoon, and I have never depended on the public purse.
See him say, him work hard, him work honestly, him do all of them things there. So what we need to do is ask another politician when we really think about what the prime minister said. And here is what that politician, a JLP member, here's what he said about, the prime minister. I never call him by name, but here's what I'm saying.
I've always said to people, do not trust the words of politicians. Do not trust the words of politicians.
Well, I can move that. That's what him said. Don't trust the words of politicians. But yet Jamaicans continue to trust the words of politicians. Here's another video from our prime minister. All right.
Nobody's gonna break my stride. Nobody's gonna slow me down. Oh no. We got to keep on moving.
Mr. Prime Minister, a word to you, sir. Nobody's gonna stop your stride. Are you what do it? Are you trip over yourself? Don't look for anybody for blame. The 28 bank account, who own them? Me don't own none. Me don't think Mystic own none neither. Nothing Mystic have 28 bank account. I'm upon the bank account as a joint holder with you.
No.
I don't think when the property upper Beverly Hills, not your primary residence, the one where you have bill, I don't think the issues right that's on nobody put you on. I need that. I don't think Westcon either. I don't think anybody frame you in a Westcon or I don't think the promises where you make. I don't think anybody put a gun on your head and tell you must do them. I think you did those things, Mr. Prime Minister. So when you come on and sing, nobody's gonna break my style, nobody's gonna. No, you're right. Nobody not do it. And you are do it, man. It's a one-car accident. One-car accident right now. I think them used to call the Pinto, one of them cars there. Can't remember. Pisa, one of them cars there. Them say, I drive down the road and it just explode, So, you don't need no collision. You do it all on your own, and then you want to turn on and blame people and want to use whatever the electronic technological system you have to find people, and then you have your minions them out them know people in America and Jamaica and them watch them in them water plants or foolishness. Here's another video. So what we'll show the first video where you say you work hard, you have abandoned no gold spoon, you come from a 2-bedroom house and you basically come from poverty and you're an honest person. Then play the second video where you say nobody now gonna stop your stride. But you, that a part they should have put on the song. Say nobody's gonna stop my stride but me. And now we're going to play your wife. Now talking about the financial situation concerning both of you at the time of the wedding. And Mystic have all of that information about when you get married and all that things. But anyway, make we listen to your wife now.
Married, 1997. We planned, I don't even know, we sat down, we talked about it. I think we decided to have our wedding in between our birthdays. I'm born on the 16th of July, he's born on the 22nd, and we chose the Sunday in between our birthdays. We could not afford a lot, so we didn't have a
You hear that? Couldn't what? Afford. Okay.
wedding planner, and we could not afford a big hotel. I remember.
You hear that? You couldn't afford a lot. You never have a wedding planner. Couldn't afford a hotel. Well, then no money.
We rented Villa Renai at the time, and we had a regular chef that you would normally have in your community come and cook up the curry goat and the rice and peas at Villa Renai. And there we were married. Everybody came, like we invited all the relatives that we knew lived very far away because they would not be able to come to the wedding. They live in the UK, they live in America and Canada, but we didn't want anybody to say that we'd never invite them. So after trying to keep the wedding to 50, and my parents started to tell me who and who not invited, and his parents started to say who and who not invited, we said, all right, here's the strategy. Send all of them invitation because they're not coming. We ended up, instead of having a wedding of 50, with a wedding of 250 people, because everybody turned up from all over and our mouth was just dropping. My father didn't think it funny. I told him that we should have actually run it like a fish fry, where we give them an invitation at a cost and you pay to come to the wedding.
You hear that? You hear that? They want to turn the wedding into a fish fry. Why? Because them not no money. They're not
No,
broke.
every day I'm hustling. Stop it.
They're hustling. Okay. Got them broke. Right? Go on.
That's all right. But we enjoyed it. It was wonderful, not very expensive, and right up our street.
Good. Now we have one more video for play and then we get another discussion. And this video is his inauguration in 2016. And I want you to listen to the story where him relate to the entire public. And just think when you're listening to him and look at where we are now and ask yourself the question, did he fulfill the request made by the person he had this conversation with? Here we go.
Elections, I witnessed a young man cradled in his arm, an obviously bedridden elderly man, carrying him from a polling station. I was touched by the sight. In the bustle of the busy schoolyard, as they passed, the elderly man pointed his ink-stained finger at me and said, "Andrew, do the right thing."
Andrew, comma, do the right thing, full stop. Let that resonate as we go through this dissertation now about what happened. Just keep that as a focus point. Andrew, do the right thing. Keep that focus. And then I want you to ask yourself a question. When we go through the whole thing, said, Andrew, comma, did you do the right thing? Question mark. And you will get the answer. I won't tell you what it is, because you're all critical thinkers. You're all critical thinkers. Here we go.
So I stand here humbled by the awesome power of you, the people, and I commit to do the right thing. The people are sovereign, and their views and votes must never be taken for granted. The people did not vote in vain. They expect a government that works for them, and by the same expectation, an opposition that is constructive. This historic election delivered the smallest majority, but also the clearest mandate: fix government.
Fix government. Because he's coming in on the mandate that government is broken. And he's charged with the responsibility of fixing government and at the same time doing the right thing.
With this mandate, there is no majority for arrogance. There is no space for selfishness. There is no place for pettiness. There is no room for complacency. And there is no margin for error.
No margin for error. Yet tonight, we played a tape where his spokesperson said, yes, there was error. He said it. Editor and Senator Morgan said that. Say yes, they made an error when they did and remember, no, this is right after I made that speech. It's like it was the same year, 2016. They made the error. Right after that speech, I made the error. Marlon Morgan said that yes, the government erred in buying used cars for policemen. Not to mention that he also implicated the Prime Minister in the cover-up, the scheme that took place up at Beverly Hills. Senator and Editor Marlon Morgan said that. We'll play that tonight. We'll make we go on and listen to the gentleman here.
I am under no illusions as to the meaning of this mandate. We have not won a prize. Instead, the people are giving us a test. There is no absolute agency of power. This means that the winner cannot take all or believe we can do it alone.
Well, it's funny because he's been doing a lot of things alone. Now, here's what I'm going to do, folks. We did our research around here, and I'm going to go through the Prime Minister's humble beginnings. We call it poverty. Mm-hmm. We're going to go from his humble beginnings to prosperity, the one that he promised to the people, but he has realized it, they haven't. All right, here we go. This is called the uncertified wealth, the mystery behind Jamaica's Prime Minister's finances. And now we're going to go from the classroom to the cabinet. In 1990, he left St. Catherine High School. 1994, he received a bachelor's in management studies from UNIT. 1996, he received his master's in development studies. And then, in the midst of COVID, he started studying doctoral studies at Northeastern University. And then, just this week, as I'm saying, 2025, earned a Doctor of Law and Policy from Northeastern University, and his dissertation titled "From the States to the Streets: The Impact of U.S. Gun Laws on Gun Violence in Jamaica." It examined how U.S. firearm regulations influence violence in Jamaican society. It's a pity that him couldn't tell him police commissioner about this. And the police commissioner have a PhD too, And the two PhDs can't figure out what the nature of the problem is in Jamaica. Them can identify it. And then how them identified? Them think the guns, them just get up from Jamaica and just walk them way from the US and walk them way into Jamaica. He was supposed to identify that. Now him claims him identified, and him and the farmer, soon to be ambassador to the United States, they came to America saying that they had names and this and that, and they were going to give it to the FBI and other U.S. Investigative agencies. And we haven't heard anything since they came on that trip. I don't know if it was a shopping trip, or it was some other. It was some trip like I will call it in the FBI a boondoggle. I don't know. But here is his work experience now. And you're gonna find this very, very interesting, people. 1994 to 1996. And we're gonna talk about his jobs and estimated income because we want to find out how him start. You know, I think it was VC who did that song. The song will go sitting in your church on Sunday, thinking who you're gonna screw Monday. Him say, Mr. Money Man, tell me where you get your first money from.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where we are working. We want to find out where him get that first money there from. So 1994 to 1996, he was the hold on, yeah, 1994 to 1996, he was the executive director of a voluntary organization for uplifting children. 1996 to 1997, he was a special assistant and financial manager, premium group of companies. And at that time, he was making 438,500 annually, Jamaican dollars. And from 1997 to present, he's been a member of parliament for a place that I used to live and I used to play football. And a whole heap of friends over there. Tower Hill, Olympic Garden, right? And he was making, as the member of parliament, 1.5 million annually. In 1999 to 2002, he was the opposition spokesperson on land and development. So I guess he was still getting that 1.5 annually. 2002 to 2005 was the opposition spokesperson on housing. And so you think he would be well versed in the area of building homes for poor people. Instead, we found that he hired his friend, Mr. Norman, and his friend, Mr. Norman Brown, and them around the housing thing in Jamaica for the government. 2007 to 2012. In fact, you know what, Kevin? Do me a favor. Can you pull up Joan thing? Pull up the slide.
Okay.
Yes.
I got
So
you.
that people can actually see it.
See. All right.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah, man.
Let me add it. Let me add it. Okay.
I was finding the page. There we go.
All right. Here we go. Here we go. My check.
Yeah, man. You're my good man.
Okay.
That's good.
So remember I told you 1990. Here it is, people on the screen. You can screenshot this thing out, or you can come back and get the tape of this thing out. So here's where we are. In 2007, 2012, he was a Minister of Education and he was making 5.3 million annually. 2011 to 2012, he was a prime minister. Remember that short stint there? When I think when Bruce left. So he was making 7.3. And 2012 to 2016, when he was leader of the opposition, he was making 6.4. And from 2016 to present, prime minister is making 9.1. What is to be noted here is that he argued strenuously for the increase. He never took the increase. You have to ask yourself, why didn't he take the increase? He came out and said the increase would attract the brightest and the best, and that it would also make government efficient, more efficient. We don't say that. We don't see them attracting the brightest and the best. If Morgan, Senator Morgan is an example of the brightest and the best, we're in deep trouble. And we don't see government being efficient either, because we can play your tapes and show your articles where he said that up to this year, he's trying to get government to be efficient. In fact, if you recall what he did, he made Audrey Marks a senator And then put her in his office to do the Jamaican version of Doge. Him said she going to make everything run smooth now, like a well-oiled machine. She going to make everything efficient. Now look at this. He confirmed that he began his PhD studies in 2020, just as the COVID-19 pandemic was unfolding. In the midst of a national crisis, he chose to pursue a doctorate, run private businesses, 3 of them that we know of, maybe even 4, but that I'm sure of. He had Estate Bridge, he had Imperium, and he had that media, Positive Media, 3 of them in 2020.
Oh, that one.
So yeah, so he's pursuing a doctorate, he's running private businesses. And by the way, the private businesses, them move a whole heap of money to the private businesses, 474 million, if my memory serves me correctly. There. I have it right here, folks. Not gonna be. Yeah, 473 million. Internet deposits, and he withdraw 427. Money are run like water. And he's doing all of this. And plus him find time now for even deal with some matters with SSL. But I'll leave that to mistake, you know. He's doing this all at once. Yet a review of global records show no precedent, not a single sitting prime minister or president in the world has attempted since then, before and then, to earn a PhD while in office, as governing a nation demands their full attention. So you ask yourself, is this ambition extraordinary multitasking or simply misplaced priority? That's what you have to ask. No, let me make the commentary now. All right, here we go. Now, the income tax is 25 to 30% in Jamaica, right? And so low to middle income households typically spend a larger share of their income, ranging from 72% to 98% on basic necessities, just buying the things we need to survive. Middle income households typically save an average of 10 to 15% of their income. Now, if the Prime Minister invested 15% of his income from 1997 to 2011 at an optimistic 10% annual return, because you now get that. But I could say him do that. His total principal plus interest would be about 20.6 million. And that's still far below the Jamaican dollars. And that's still far below the 57.1 when you used to buy the house in 2011 without a mortgage on a 5.3 million salary. Remember, I made have ADMAT and all of this thing are going in a St. Lucia. We don't know where the first money that come from. No,
the man married. What do you mean? Have current income. What do you mean?
No mention that. No, he have to come mention that. No, the Integrity Commission has revealed that the Prime Minister net worth increased by 51.5 between 2017 and 2021. Now, in any functioning democracy, when public officials receive large deposits or own substantial assets that don't align with their salaries, an accountability agency such as the Integrity Commission is responsible for tracing the source to ensure the funds are lawful and not connected to corruption or misuse of public resources. But them drop the ball too, because them should have figured out what go on with ADMAT. And we still don't get a report from them. And in fact, they said that everything that they have is what he gave them, not what they investigated. Now, wealth is not inherently suspicious. No, we're not saying that. But it must have a clear and legitimate source, such as inheritance. We know him not getting inheritance from his parents. Private businesses are gifts. Now, if his wealth is above board, why hasn't it been certified by the Integrity Commission? No, the Prime Minister knows the struggle of paying for higher education. He defaulted. How about the default thing? Bring up that for me there, Kevin. The default, we'd have it up. Him defaulted upon him loan, upon him student loan. As a matter of fact, since that come out public, them stop releasing the information about students who have defaulted. His name appeared in a student loan bureau notice on September 6, 1996, listing the delinquent borrowers. At that time, the Prime Minister was 24 years old and living with his mom in Spanish Town. and he was just a year from entering parliament, right? The revelation of his unpaid student loan resurfaced in 2019, sparking public debate. In a political spin, Senator Morgan, not this one here, not this one, we're talking about Robert Morgan, because this one was him spin out of control. So, so what happened? Senator Robert Morgan framed the situation as inspirational, saying every ghetto youth can be great, from nothing to something, and from boardhouse to Jamaica House. I guess that kept him in good Prime Minister's good graces until we show up on the scene. Now, given the unanswered questions about his wealth and business dealings, is this truly an example for ghetto youths from boardhouse to potential illicit enrichment? Don't know. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. So what we're going to know, before we get to him graduation and the things and him say, I know we can criticize that. I'm going to turn it over now to the one, the only. I know him, I love him. Man who's thorough to a fault. And the man who keeps us well informed because of his diligence and his persuasive arguments concerning any topic him choose to talk about. The man is here with us tonight. Mystic Sensation, Lord Byron.
Blessings.
Listen, brother. Before you're going to further, see the thing with the Prime Minister's thing, you know. Well, go on now. Hold on. See there? See there? Student loan. See the Andrew Holness. Lot 130 Riverside Park, in some city, Spanish Town, PO St. Catherine, social sciences. Him owe money. Student loan. Delinquent. Before we're going further, let me just.
In his defense,
Look
at the year.
In his defense, look at the year. 1996. Yeah, him going to parliament the next year. Yeah. So him going and can't pay a student
Right, so
loan. And remember, don't them get married the year after too, you know, and then them have to do fish, them have plan for the fish fry. So people pay for come at the wedding. Remember that one. So essentially, we must say him going to parliament broke. That's what he must say. That's what he must say. He must say somebody supported his campaign. Somebody saw a potential in him because he never have the money to even help himself. Or people have to do it for him. Now, what I want to do is the Prime Minister is probably watching us now because he's in New York. He just finished up him dinner. In $2,500 a plate dinner.
Somebody say white rice and tin mackerel.
Right, call it that dirty girl, something like that. So him eat up him things and him sit down now and watch it because he want to know what we are going to say about him. That's different from what anybody else ever say about him. Right? And then I knew I see wife I walk around and get bun, you know. I see she walk around and get bun. And I look.
Fix up your argument, Mr. Rattigan. Please fix up your argument.
No, then you know, see, you played last week. Your wife go on and give bun. And I'm saying, how come nobody not giving her no bun? Because she had give and she not get it. I don't understand that. So I don't know. I'm just saying that, Kevin, sometimes you give and you receive. But I don't know what's going. But anyway, different story. The Prime Minister is in New York. And he just had his dinner. And now he's watching us to see what we're going to say about him. So I've said my little piece before I start jumping all over the place with him. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mystic Sensation, Lord Byron.
All right.
As you would say, so take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Rattigan. First, I want to say, Kevin Steele, big up yourself.
Blessings.
Kevin.
But there, man.
Yeah, man. First, I want to say, big thanks to Rattigan to host this program. Very important. Right, and I want to say, big up all the persons in the chat and all persons who tune in, right, to be informed, right. I think one of my favorite political candidates, right, is Isaac Buchanan, and I have many favorite political candidates, as it relates to Nikisha Burchell, Alan Bernard, and so forth. The PNP have a good set of people who are ready and able, right, to lead the people's mandate, not the political mandate, the people's mandate, right? We are talking about nation building. And so then one of the best theme from Isaac Buchanan, he said, context matters. And so then we are going to put things in perspective tonight as it relates to, what appears to be illicit enrichment that the Prime Minister obviously cannot explain. And where it is evident as it relates to the Integrity Commission, unable to certify the Prime Minister's statutory declaration going 3 consecutive years. That says a lot. When you have a Prime Minister's statutory declarations cannot, be certified. And of course, it raised a lot of red flags. And one of those red flags, we talk about illicit enrichment, where the Prime Minister himself has provided, I would think, more than sufficient time, more than reasonable time, right, to explain his words. However, unfortunately, the Prime Minister cannot do that. Now, as it relates to what Isaac Buchanan always say, context matters. So we are going to put things in context, right? Now, if we are to go back to understand how the Prime Minister, right, came into this conundrum, obviously, as it relates to investigators like myself and Rattigan, and of course, Kevin Stew, we will see the obvious red flags. Let me say this. We are speaking in clear terms to the fact that the Prime Minister has not placed through a judicial process, and where the judicial process tried the Prime Minister and found him guilty. And as we said, context matters. However, we are going to speak about the obvious red flags as we see them. Now, the Prime Minister, in terms of illicit enrichment, couldn't have done this alone. So I want to teach Jamaica certain things in terms of understanding what we are talking about. Every ministry, every political ministry, carry what we call a permanent secretary. Now, as it relates to illicit enrichment and what we are looking at, it would have appeared that the Prime Minister has a premeditated plan and executed it very well. Right? In law, we talk about mens rea and actus reus. We speak about the intent of the Prime Minister and the action being executed. So where am I going? I want to show people certain things as it relates to the responsibility of a permanent secretary within the various ministries. And it is very important, and I want people to listen to me. So a permanent secretary, right? They are the chief executive of the ministry. I want to bear that in mind. Responsible for the day-to-day operations and implementations of government policies. Bulletin point number 1. Bulletin point number 2, ensuring efficiency, which is very important. They ensure the efficient and effective functioning of the ministry. Simply means that they have to ensure, as it relates to certain activities, adhere to policies. Strategic planning, they lead the formulation of the ministry strategic and corporate plans. Bulletin point number 4, budget management, which is extremely important. They monitor the ministry budget and ensure compliance with relevant guidelines. Extremely important. And I want people to listen to me when I said it is very extremely important. Now, let us bring up who we call Audrey Sewell, because we want to put context to the thing, background to the thing. Audrey Sewell, Prime Minister, appointed Audrey Sewell in 2008. And when you do the investigation, you realize that in 2008, the Prime Minister was allowed to do several things contrary to laws and the procurement guidelines. In 2008, the Prime Minister appointed Audrey Sewell as it relates to the Prime Minister being the Minister of Education and Audrey Sewell being the Permanent Secretary. In 2008, the Prime Minister awarded several contracts to Gov't. Gov't is someone who the Prime Minister has an association with for more than 20 years. Personal relationship. And as a matter of fact, Gov't, as it relates to, a couple of Andrew Warner's shell companies, Gov't listed as a director in those companies. And also, Gov't, along with Andrew Warner's wife, Juliet, have been listed as directors. So you can see the play there, right? And Andrew Warner's now have to award contracts to Gov't. However, we have realized that if you look deep in the investigation, it was only one person that bid in the bidding process. That should never allowed. But the Permanent Secretary allowed that. A breach of the procurement guidelines. I want to stop there, my Jamaican people, because I want you to follow me clearly, right? I wanted to give you now some history and background of the Permanent Secretary. Why this is important is to understand the DNA of corruption with this particular Permanent Secretary, Audrey Sewell. Rattigan, I've sent you some documents.
Yeah, Kevin, you can pull it up. Kevin has them.
And I want you to go, Kevin, to the document, because we are teaching Jamaica tonight as it relates to the level of corruption. I want you to display Permanent Secretary gunned down in broad daylight. We are going to teach Jamaica as it relates to the association as to why the Prime Minister chose Audrey Sewell to become Permanent Secretary in 2008 in the height of the Prime Minister's corruption, the height of the Prime Minister's corruption in 2008. But we're going to show you the DNA of the Permanent Secretary background as it relates to corruption, right? So we want the public to have an understanding that where we are going as it relates to the history. Audrey Sewell has more than 40 years of experience, judging way back to the time where we are going in history to understand the DNA of Audrey Sewell.
Hold on, it's coming up.
Yeah. Did it come up a while ago and then close?
No, you have to go back to.
Okay.
I don't want anyone break my stride tonight.
I had just brought it up a while ago.
No, I think it's thing there. It's not
No,
up there.
no, it was just here just now. That's what
It's
I'm
three
saying.
them, you know.
Yeah.
Permanent secretary gunned down in broad daylight. That is the one I want.
Yeah. That was the article that I was just looking at. All right, let me see if
You know,
I can.
restore.
No, reopen tab because I think it probably got closed just now.
While that go on.
It's okay. Let me. It's okay. Sorry, mistake. I have to go.
While I'm look for that, we just play country for sale. Everything gone, you know.
All right. Country for sale. Apply within. Now, Google, tell me what I want. I hear them sell off everything. When your price, if the bargain is right. Oh yeah, with the right connections. You can have anything that you like. Oh yeah, alright then. You can have anything if you wanna sell out, sell out. Oh Lord, oh yeah, look how them a sell out, sell out. Oh. Hey, hey, Jamaica, sell out. Oh yeah. Airport Donald Sangster, save off. Look there, down now off. You may think it's a joke, I see no reason to laugh. They be making promises, but all they're doing is stop. I
Hey, I
say,
mistake.
with the right directions.
One strategy, you know.
Everything, everyone, I sell out.
Yeah, man, we are sell out the place. See
All
that?
right.
Yeah. Well, on Kevin, let me push it up there. This is the one you're talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah,
All
man.
right, Kevin Stew. I like how you find the things them and present them, eh? All right.
You know.
So what we are telling the people, context matters, and the people need to understand the foundation, because if you don't understand the history, then you will lose the vision of understanding the entire thing in context. So here it is. Let us start from the top now.
Yeah, man, for sure.
All right. Yes. Permanent secretary gunned down in broad daylight. And this was reported in January 7, 2013, right? Giving report of something that happened, right, in 1979. After alleged hit, yes. After alleged hit, sorry, in 1977, let me correct that. Sorry, my bad. After alleged hit on Ted Gilby, George Flash, Tony Brown fled to Cuba. Right? It was a murder that shocked the nation. In broad daylight on June 16, 1977, Hitman gunned down Edward Ted Ogilvy, permanent secretary in the Ministry of Construction, as he stood at the gate to his Lydia Drive home in Avondale, St. Andrew. Ogilvy had gone home for lunch and was returning to his car when two men on a motorcycle rode up and shot him twice in the head. The shooters were later confronted by two policemen on foot patrol, but got away after a brief gun battle. First rush to Medical Associates Hospital, Ogilvy was transferred to the University Hospital, where he later succumbed to his injuries. Dr. John McCartney, consultant neurosurgeon at the Kingston Public Hospital would later testify that he had examined Ogilvy on the afternoon of June 16, 1976, and found that Ogilvy died as a result of brain damage resulting from bullet wounds. At the time of his death, he had been in the midst of conducting an audit, so I want people to understand it, of an housing project in the deprived East Kingston community of McGregor Gully. Now, before I go any further, let me say to people that Audrey Sewell worked on this project. Now, where it was alleged that some 1.9 million was spent on the project in just 6 weeks, apparently overshooting the budget targets, I've seen some similarities with the Andrew Holness administration as it relates to, most of the money unaccounted for as it relates to over budgeting. It is against that background that in June 1980, a jury of 12, after hearing evidence, convicted a former superintendent of works, Weston Dyer of 17 Further Avenue. Let us stop right there. Who is Weston Dyer? Let the people know that Weston Dyer is the father of Audrey Dyer Sewell. So you see where the DNA of corruption is coming from, where that is concerned. I want people to take note of that. That her father, as a result of wanting to double down in corruption, right, plan the death of Ogilvy. Now, independent citizen Catherine on charges of conspiracy to murder and incitement to murder arising out of the death of his ministry's permanent secretary. Dyer was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment at hard labor on the conspiracy to murder charge and 6 years imprisonment on the incitement to murder charge. The sentence to run concurrently. The main witness in the case, Winston Reed, of an East Kingston address, testified in the number 2 Home Circuit Court before the late Justice Chambers that on several occasions he had heard the accused Dyer saying to other persons that Ogilvy must dead, as he was the one who had stopped money from flowing. Reed, who described himself as Dyer right-hand man, said that he became acquainted with Weston Dyer during the accused man's visit to the McGregor Gully construction site. He said he had impregnated himself with Dyer, telling him that he knew the runnings and around the area and could control the human them. Reed job thereafter, he testified, was to control the men in the gully and pay them, and that was how he had come to call himself Dyer Finance Minister. He also said that Dyer was like a father to him, although he never really did any work. The corruption what the man I talk about now, Although he never really did any work. Reed confessed he was paid some varying between 8,000 and 13,000 per week just to be Dyer's right-hand man. Reed also told the court about a meeting on Dyer's veranda at 17 Further Avenue in 1976, at which he said he heard Dyer make a certain statement in the presence of one Anthony Brown, one Froggy Garden. During the course of the meeting, Ogilvy's name was mentioned, at which point Reed claimed that he walked out of the meeting and into the street. He said he heard one of the two men say, "It's all right, boss. We will take care of the job. Just deal with us direct and leave Reed out of it." Asked what he felt the job was, Reed said that he took it to mean that Ogilvy would be killed. Now take it away, because we are not going further in that document. I want to show the background of where Audrey Sewell is coming from. Now, let us brought forward to 2008. You have to understand Andrew Holness' premeditatedness, right? Because Andrew Holness is a chess player. Andrew Holness need a key. Yes, a key to the treasury. And when it comes to all ministries, you have to understand, sir, the permanent secretaries will a key and pivotal responsibility in every ministry. So every ministry carry a permanent secretary. Now, let us go back to 2008. What transpired in 2008? Of course, Andrew Holness would have known about Audrey Sewell history. Andrew Holness want Audrey Sewell by his side. Definitely. Because with Audrey Sewell, of course, the procurement guidelines can be breached. I want people to see where I'm coming from. So when you have certain situations as, certain procurement, Audrey Sewell will know that, okay, one bidder, we shouldn't be, but it's not a problem to Audrey. Audrey know the corruption work, right? Because she has been there with her father as it relates to the 1977 incident where her father had executed a permanent secretary. So watch this now. Now that Andrew Holness have a key, Andrew Holness was able to award several contracts to Gov't in 2008. Several of them. That amounted to over $30 million. Where Mystic Sensation is going. Now, in 2008, Andrew Holness also formed ADMAT. In 2008 also, as a result of Audrey Sewell allowing Andrew Holness to breach procurement guidelines through the process of nepotism, cronyism, skullduggery, with Gov't, right? Who is a director in a couple of Andrew Holness shell company along with Juliet Holness, right? Gov't have been influenced, the contracts that given to Gov't being influenced by Andrew Holness. What given Gov't several contracts all through Jamaica. So there is where now Andrew Holness have money, right? And where that money plays into ADMAT. And where now ADMAT, right, as it relates to the entire plan that Andrew Holness have. So when what happened as it relates to ADMAT, the formation of ADMAT, Patrick Bailey, Andrew Holness' lawyer at the time, right, created these shell companies for Andrew Holness as it relates to ADMAT, right? A lot of Jamaicans believe that Andrew Holness was running away from tax. It was bigger than that. Not that Andrew Holness was running away from tax. ADMAT was formed in St. Lucia. So I want you to get it. Simply means that Andrew Holness calculatedly, cleverly ensured that ADMAT did not farm out of the foundation of Jamaica. Because why? ADMAT would have been investigated. And if ADMAT would have been investigated, simple question would have asked, how ADMAT came by the money. Let us stop right here. When rumors start to swirl around and Zara Burton picked up this in 2016, Andrew Holness, and I'm glad Rattigan showed the clip with Juliet Holness and the wedding, because that is important. So we are going to merge certain things now for people to understand. Remember that the investigation timeline that the Integrity Commission investigators had done is between the period 2007 to 2009. Right? Now, Zara Burton became curious as it relates to the big house that Andrew Holness built. Now, watch this now, people. As a result of that, what transpired was to the fact that Andrew Holness tried to justify that as it relates to his illicit enrichment. Remember, they have an understanding how Andrew owners would get a certain money, utilizing, right, awarding contracts to Gavin. And so then, as a result of that, right, we believe, let me say this, we believe that that money redirected back to Andrew Owners through the influence of Andrew Owners with all the contracts to Gavin, where share and bring down money, right? And that is where Andrew Owners put those money, right, pack those money into ADMAT, right, where ADMAT used now to buy up these properties. But ADMAT did not farm in Jamaica, it farmed in St. Lucia, right, not to attract investigation or any investigation ADMAT, because ADMAT was not solutions. But wasn't that, as it relates to what Zara reported, that Andrew Owners was dodging tax. Andrew Owners wasn't dodging tax. But Andrew Owners was actually hiding ADMAT in order that ADMAT, right, was not to be investigated as it relates to the source of funds get into ADMAT. So I want people to understand that, right? And as a result of the permanent secretary who is there would have understood that Andrew would have been breaching procurement rules and guidelines, right? Using Gavin to do that. The permanent secretary could have called it out. The permanent secretary didn't call it out. That is the permanent secretary responsibility. The permanent secretary responsible as it relates to all accounts, payables and receivables. That is the responsibility of the permanent secretary to sign off and have accountability of those issues. The permanent secretary turn a blind eye to all of these things. So we want you to understand that the foundation of Andrew Owners' criminality.
Whenever you're ready for her, we have her up here, you know.
Huh?
Whenever you're ready for her, the one who says Audrey gets the job, whenever you're ready, it's here.
Exactly. So then one need to understand the relationship between Audrey Sewell and Andrew Owners. Audrey Sewell giving the access to Andrew Owners to breach procurement guidelines, right, and indulge in illicit enrichment. All right, so we want people to understand how Audrey Sewell is important into this. Now, as a result of that, you have seen now where ADMAT in St. Lucia, right, purchasing of properties in 2008, right, and where, of course, it came to a time where St. Lucia became under pressure as it relates to tighten up on certain policies. And so then St. Lucia decided that, you know, entities cannot just come into St. Lucia and just operate shell company. They have to actually have an active company with people working and so forth and so forth. And so then, right, there is a situation now that arises where Andrew Owners now, right, decided that, okay, what he's going to do, right, is going to now dissolve ADMAT into Imperium. So I want Jamaica people to understand that when you look on Imperium, you are also looking at ADMAT that dissolve all the entities into Imperium. So I want people to get that, right? To stay on track. Now, let us read the document in terms of Andrew Owners' continuance in the corruption. Andrew Owners did not choose Audrey Sewell just by Audrey Sewell profession of, you know, solid performance. No, Audrey Sewell is selected because Audrey Sewell will carry out the objectives and the plan of Andrew Owners to enrich himself. So Andrew Owners now need a master key one that control all permanent secretary. Now let us get into that report, Ratigan. Bring up that report. Audrey gets the job. I mean, it was designed for Audrey to get the job. Because Audrey came from a corruption from way back in 1977, right? Working on the McGregor Gully. Where the permanent secretary been killed by her father. And so on, and she was selected as a result of the DNA of corruption. In 2008, Audrey Sewell placed in the Ministry of Education as the permanent secretary, which gave Andrew Holness access to his illicit enrichment. So let us read this document. The long search for a new cabinet secretary has finally ended with veteran public servant Audrey Sewell set to take on the job. My. Well calculated. The master of chess is playing. Jamaica Observer sources say Sewell, who now serves as the permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Economic and Growth and Job Creation, will move into the role of the head of the civil service come Tuesday, August 1st. What does this mean? Audrey Sewell now will in charge of all permanent secretaries. The Andrew Holness administration has been searching for a new cabinet secretary since last October when Ambassador Douglas Sanders was slated to retire. The administration had initially picked former head of the Jamaica Defense Force, Lieutenant General Rocky Ricardo. That was just a deflection made to replace Sanders, who was slated to step down on October 1st, 2022 after serving from 2008.
Jeez, wow.
But following questions about the appointment, Meade said that he could not accept the appointment amid concerns raised that it was in breach of the Jamaican Constitution, because they know that definitely, right, that was a breach, right? So all of that is a planting. And some the Observer sources said the following: the recommendations of Holness, the recommendation of who people, of Holness, and the full approval of the Governor General, Sir Patrick Allen Sewell, would take on the job. Full approval of the Prime Minister. Play right in the pastors, right in Andrew Holness' chess game, right in the check border. The Observer sources pointed out that Sewell brings a wealth of experience and exceptional qualifications to her new role as Cabinet Secretary. Let us read on. Throughout her distinguished career, she has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to development of Jamaica through her exceptional leadership. Hold on, Ratigan, go back this up. Can we ask Jamaica something? Exceptional leadership and dedication. Let us ask, what sort of exceptional leadership in 2008 when Audrey Sewell was the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, and where Andrew Holness, right, allowed to breach the procurement guidelines, influence several contracts to Gov't, to enrich Andrew Holness. Do you see, Jamaican people, any exceptional leadership there? Vatican, do you see any exceptional leadership there in 2008?
No, I don't see it. I'm still looking though.
Kevin Stew, have you seen any exceptional leadership there from 2008?
Me and Ratty, I go through the papers. We'll look together.
Okay, all right. Exceptional leadership and dedication, said the source. Scroll down, let us give it to the people, because the people are here for the truth. You know. Mr. Sewell's qualification include a MSc in Human Resource Development and a Bachelor of Science in Management Studies from the prestigious University of West Indies. Additionally, she holds a certificate in Management Studies from UWI and an advanced certificate in educational administration and leadership awarded jointly by the Swedish Institute of National Development and the Vocational Training and Development Institute. Her dedication to continuous learning is evident through her participation in international studies and research methodology courses at the University of Michigan. The source added. Sewell's career as a permanent secretary started in 2008 at the Ministry of Education. I want people to understand that. Now we are time of the leads. In 2011, she was reassigned to the Ministry of Transport, Works and Housing, and later in February 2016, she was appointed to the same capacity at the Ministry of Economic and Growth and Job Creation. In that same year, she took on the dual role of permanent secretary for both ministries, serving in the office of the Prime Minister. Stop right there. Let us speak to Jamaica.
I have a question.
Of all these ministries that Audrey Sewell, right, being placed as it relates to the Prime Minister, right, pulling her through all these ministries, I want to let Jamaica know all of these ministries have billions of dollars unaccounted for. You hear, Mr. Jamaica? All of these ministries that Audrey Sewell, right, had later experience in have billions of dollars unaccounted for. Go ahead, Kevin Stewart.
Okay. Shit. The ministries have billions of dollars unaccounted for being missing.
Yes.
Okay, cool. With her qualifications, although I know the answer to the question, and I know it's a trend in Jamaican politics.
So you're asking a rhetorical question?
Essentially.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask it anyway.
Go ahead.
So she is very qualified in the realm of education. What she doing in all these other ministries?
Exactly.
For what purpose does she serve in these other ministries? Management studies is not one of her qualifications. Human resources is, based on the article. Cool. She have a little thing there, but that would be needed in management anyway. But her forte is education.
Yes.
So she should have everything Ministry of Education related under her. She should work in every department in the Ministry of Education. What she doing elsewhere?
She was moving around conveniently for convenient purposes.
It's a rhetorical question because is what we see happening all the time. You know, when you have a doctor of medicine being nursing or security, it kind of, you know, but
Exactly.
I digress. Please proceed.
So let us proceed. In the meantime, the observer that Maid is set to be appointed as permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister, while Arlene Williams will be permanent secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. However, efforts to confirm these appointments were unsuccessful up to press time. Maid is now serving as an ambassador plenipotentiary with responsibility for national strategic initiatives and co-chair of the Constitutional Reform Committee. Let us scroll down.
Sir. Question. Plenipotentiary means what? God.
It means, I can tell you, plenipotentiary, it means that he can actually act on behalf of the government without any supervision. So he could have go out and make contracts. It's almost like a super ambassador. He could just go out and do whatever he wants.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Guys, we can put people positions like that. Okay.
Well, there you go. All right.
You have more? No, I think that's it, right?
Okay, so that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we set the platform as it relates to people understanding the relationship between Audrey Sewell, right, the permanent secretary from 2008 in the Ministry of Education, how she, right, assisted Andrew owners as it relates to giving Andrew owners access to the treasury through nepotism, cronyism, right, and breach of the procurement guidelines where that is concerned. Now, when we look at this, Ratty, I have to ask you a question. How could the Prime Minister being investigated and the Permanent Secretary not being investigated?
How could it happen? Because you have a spineless and a rudderless integrity commission. Because we see where they failed us. We see where they failed us miserably over the years on several occasions, where their investigations are half baked, and to some degree, when the whole system is all screwed up, because then they go to a corruption prosecutor who says she's not going to prosecute the case, even though there's ample evidence to prosecute the case.
Exactly.
And then when you go back and look at some of the things that they do on some of the cases that I'm familiar with, you see where you're puzzled, because you're saying these are investigators, are so-called investigators, and you would expect a modicum of professionality or professionalism from them. You would say to yourself, okay, there's certain steps that they're going to take in their investigation, steps that you and I would never miss. I mean, steps that you and I in our sleep, we can, somebody wake up, we cannot say, yes, you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They don't do it. They didn't do it. And so to answer, I guess to answer your question is, how could it be that these things just weren't investigated? The only thing I can come back to is just the system and people of influence.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why Jamaica is ranked is 40, was it 40 on the corruption index. No, it's 40 because they were at 44 and they dropped 4 places.
And they lose 4 points.
Yeah.
I'm going the other direction. Sorry. Yeah.
Right. And then you have a place like South Africa where people says corrupt, and yes, we're not going to corrupt, but at least I see where they're trying, you know. And they remain steady at 41. Jamaica went right back, and people are wanting to keep this in mind. That one of the reasons why Jamaica fell 4 places. You have Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, Leslie Campbell, and we shouldn't forget the Prime Minister. Look at what he did last year.
Yeah.
You know, we can't forget him. The man, it was last year, earlier this year, whatever, but he's in court right now with the very organization that he created and he touted highly until this past December. Because every December 9th is anti-corruption, Global Anti-Corruption Day. And every December 9th, you can go back and read it for yourself. He spoke very highly of the Integrity Commission and particularly of Chairman Panton. He spoke very, very highly. And this past December, he don't mention them at all.
Exactly.
It was a very generic statement about corruption.
All right. So where we are going next, people, is to have an understanding of the dilemma where Jamaica is facing. We're talking about, $3 trillion unaccounted for, right? Now, Jamaica, let us get up close and personal with this. $3 trillion unaccounted for. Now, the Andrew Wellness administration would want to say that no money is missing. But how could they come to that conclusion if we have a rural read that is now facing the judge? We have other situations, right? That would suggest some serious issues. So it goes to show you that definitely the treasury has been pilfered. Not to be about that. Now let us get into the seriousness of it. If you go back to 1977, one of the reasons why the permanent secretary was killed was to the fact that the permanent secretary, or Gilby, was investigating cost overrun. Cost overrun. And this was caused the permanent secretary death by Dyer, the father of aojldf. Let us brought forward to know. Let us pick out Cornwall Regional Hospital, for example, as it relates to billions of dollars overrun. Seen a reflection from 1977 there. Cornwall Regional started at $2 billion. And now, looking on what we talk about, $27 billion. So as it relates to the original amount that was slated, and let us reason, my Jamaican people. We have civil engineers who are professional people. And so then while government would be in the bidding process and certain things, and the government understand about pricing and all of that, right, would make certain decisions around all those issues and can now make an estimation as it relates to say, okay, all right, this is cost $2 billion. But how could that be that when you have so-called technocrats, right, who come together, making the plans, right, in terms of, to rehabilitate Cornwall Regional Hospital? It's not like they were building something from scratch. People need to understand the process of what being done, right? And as such, from $2 billion to $13 billion, from $13 billion to what? $27 billion. And trust me, more needed. And it doesn't finish. And when you look at that and the amount of cost overrun, now let us zoom in now on the Ministry of Health. As what the Auditor General had picked up as it relates to billions of dollars unaccounted for. What the Auditor General is reporting, the Auditor General had reported that over $92 billion in the health ministry alone, over $92 billion unaccounted for. Regardless of how the Prime Minister want to spin it or his administration want to spin it, let us zoom in a little bit deeper. Now, in the Ministry of Health, as it relates to $92 billion unaccounted for, you want to hear the explanation as it relates to not only the Ministry of Health, but several other ministries, Kevin. Here the response from the government. The government said, no, there is no money missing. What happened is that the appropriation account has not been submitted on a timely basis. Okay, Rattigan, we could take that. We could observe that for a while. Now let us get into the appropriation account. Right? Now, what is the appropriation account? The appropriation account is simply a report, just for layman terms, a simple account that would record in all expenditures, government expenditures, right? And should be reported annually on a yearly basis. So that you understand as it relates to how each entity works and the expenditures being spent, being utilized. That is the appropriation account, right, in layman terms. Now, let us move on. This is how, when we look back on the permanent secretary, right, aojldf coming from the Ministry of Education in 2008, now put in a position that is she's the cabinet secretary in charge of all permanent secretary. Now watch this now, people. You're going to tell me that over 9 years, Kevin, I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this, Ratigan. The policy as it relates to the appropriation account, it's supposed to tender on an annual basis, supposed to submit it as it relates to the respective ministries. Now, my question, how can you have the appropriation account not being submitted for more than 10 years? How can that be explained, Ratty?
Well, the explanation that the new Ministry of Finance and the new Ministry of Education, Dina Morris Dixon, the reason they give is that, oh, we changed system. There's a system change. And so there was a problem entering the information into the system.
Over 10 years?
And that caused a delay. It's foolishness. It's foolishness.
We know government systems are slow though. So because government systems are slow and in the transferring of information, transferring of data, and this is a scientific approach to it. Let's explain it. This is how you make fluff sound good.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, unbelievable. Rather unbelievable. So then, my argument, okay, the permanent secretary, right, who is responsible for the respective ministry, whether it is the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, or whatever ministry it is. One of the role and responsibility of the permanent secretary is to ensure that all policies being adhered to. So then, why the permanent secretary did not recognize, and I'm talking to all permanent secretaries, where all these ministries as it relates to billions of dollars unaccounted for?
Well, here's one that they can't explain. And I'm going to go back over that 3 trillion. I might do another line item out of it this Saturday, next Saturday. But here's why they can't make any sense out of it. There is over at the ministry, and a lot of you watching the program, you've heard me talk about this. There is over at the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
They had an advisory board called the Jamaica Tertiary Commission. And it was just to advise the minister on tertiary education issues.
Yes.
And what happened was that one of the officials on that advisory board decided that he was going to register it as a private company. Now, that advisory board used to get some money, and they were supposed to get some money from the government, and all of a sudden, it got funneled into the private company. So to the tune of over 100 million. So when the Auditor General started digging into this, she went to the guy who was chairing this private entity that has the government name on it. And when she said, listen, we need to get the paperwork, he said, no, this is a private company. You have no jurisdiction here. And guess what? She backed off. But the law said no. If an institution is getting government funds, then the government has every right to ask them for paperwork. And she backed off. No. When I read the Auditor General's report, Dean Roy Bernard was the permanent secretary at the time.
Yeah.
They had a party. The same company here. They had a party for Dean Roy Bernard. And I think shortly after, money started flowing to them. And Dean Roy Bernard was unceremoniously removed. And Grace McLean was the acting.
Yes.
And Grace McLean knew that money went to this private entity that shouldn't have. And that no more money was supposed to go to them. And Grace McLean continued to send money to them. Continued. Now, here's the thing.
But hold on, Ratigan. Let me ask a question. The same Marlon Morgan here, wasn't he responsible for some operations there?
Well, you know what? He's made a statement. Let me answer your question. But I need to answer it in context. He made a statement last week, Saturday,
Yes.
saying that the present police commissioner is far better than I could ever hope to be if I were given the job as police commissioner. So tonight, and I said it last week, I said to him, editor and Senator Morgan, you're absolutely correct because as far as you're concerned, I wouldn't be a good police commissioner because you know why? If I were a police commissioner, I would have said Dean Roy Bernard was over at the Ministry of Education, money was missing. Grace McLean was there, money was missing. Mr. Reed, Royal Reed was there, money was missing. And guess who else was there? You.
Exactly.
So I said, I would be digging up, I would be turning over your life. I would be figuring out if you had anything to do with it and if the evidence proved to me that you were involved, guess who would be in prison? You. So I agree with you that I would not be a good commissioner as far as you're concerned. Yeah, no, he was there.
Yeah,
he was there at some periods. He was there. And somebody told me that he's still there as a consultant. Somebody mentioned that to me. But he was over there at the time.
Exactly.
At least for some parts of it, he was there. Yeah. So I said, no, I would have to look into you, man. I would have to figure out what is your involvement, if any, in what's going on over here. I would be looking at all the executives, all of the people.
And I think one of his responsibility was to supervise certain of the procurement guidelines as well.
Mystic, I would be putting him on the box. I'll polygraph that guy after going through all his records, finding out everything there's to know about him. I would then do an interview first with him, and then I would polygraph him. That's almost similar to like waterboarding, torturing somebody, because once you know you're coming at him and you start digging up every single thing, and then on top of that, you get all the answers you want. And remember what we said, you don't ask questions you don't know the answers to, especially in a case like this. And then you put him on the box. You put him on the box. No, man. The man, they go talk like it go to style.
Exactly.
Yeah, he might talk like it go to style. So, and you know what? We exposed certain things about him today that, I call on the Prime Minister. I call on the Prime Minister to, in the best interest of himself and the government and the country, to relieve editor, Senator Morgan of his duties.
The editor and Senator work together, man.
Yeah, because what happened is that he admitted
yes,
that the Prime Minister had an interest in the Wycliffe Close development before the investigation started. So what he's saying is that whatever violation was committed, the Prime Minister was a part of it, knew about it.
yes.
I remember, what the complaint was that the Prime Minister submitted, the Prime Minister, through people in that organization, they submitted a blueprint for a permit, and the permit was to build 2-bedroom apartments, but then they ended up building 4-bedroom apartments, contrary to the permit. Right? Yeah, so the Prime Minister was, and Mr. Morgan explained that in a roundabout way. He said it because he said nobody's arguing that the Prime Minister wasn't an interest holder. Yeah, wasn't an owner, wasn't involved in didn't have any interest in that at the time that the construction started. He said that, and the moment that the violation was committed. So he's giving up the Prime Minister, not to mention him come and dig up another story and criticize his government, saying that them screw up with the cars, with the used cars for the police. Yeah, used vehicles for the police. Him said that. I will play it. I will say, Mr. Prime Minister, if we never send him over here, we'll get more time.
Which is why there will be no more representatives of the JLP, no more officers of the JLP.
I mean, Kevin, you said Morgan always do what Morgan does.
You know, see the
I don't
thing.
know if he's referring to any
Hey.
time as it relates to the 17th century with
Hold on,
Aaron
man.
Morgan.
Hold on there, man. Hold on there. See t-shirt that we are selling now. See,
Well,
see what they know,
Morgan.
Morgan, you know. Pronounce Morgan. The adjective. It says arrogant and prone to making mistakes. That's the first one, you know. Right? See next one, I know. You a Morgan, and on the back of the t-shirt it said you're a Morgan if you screw up, if you are inept, if you're incompetent, and if you do Morgan things. So with the other one, am I a Moran or a Morgan? Yeah, we are. See one, you know. What does it mean to be?
Morganism.
What is Morganism? Morganism is the mistaken belief that you are the most competent and intelligent person in the universe. That for him. We have any, oh, Tita man, you just mentioned it. I'm Morgan doing Morgan things, man.
Yes.
I'm Morgan doing a big things me had around here.
But there's one more. There's one more.
Where is it? Oh, yeah, put it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's right
Yeah,
there.
because producer Jones actually did some. Oh, see that? Oh, well, let me take this one down. Oh, wait there. Take this down. Oh, here's a new one, I know. Oh, see that, I know. See then, Morgan, it's another definition, an expert at avoiding any real work, but at the same time appearing productive. All of these t-shirts are for sale, enough people. You can't get them for sale.
Place your orders. Place your
Yeah.
orders. There are many to order, I get to understand. So
So
place your orders.
yeah, so the Prime Minister with the and we have a bunch of documents here with the his shenanigans with the three companies and the amount of money that he moved. And oh, here's one here. This one I find quite interesting, and I'm sure you did, Mystic and Kevin.
Yes.
When they look at the bank accounts that he declared for 2021, right? He has savings account in Jamaican dollars and he has US accounts, right? Now there's a US account here with Citibank. It said USD, US denomination checking.
Yes.
And it has $713,528.27. And here is what them ended up telling the Integrity Commission. The bank made a mistake. It's not a USD account. It is Jamaican dollar account. Now, people, and the bank, by the way, is NCB.
But Rattigan,
Mm-hmm.
let us discuss that line item. Right? Under no circumstances the bank would have made that mistake.
Of course not.
No, I am 100% sure of that. Under no circumstance. Because number one, again, as it relates to if you have 713,000 US dollars, right, being input into a system mistakenly, at the end of the day, that is going to be realized.
Yeah, it shouldn't take an investigation for come. This is 2021.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take an investigation for come years later for realize, oh, the money that we put in there is a mistake.
No, I mean, on that particular day, because guess what? It is not, the system is not going to be balanced.
Right.
No, seriously.
At the end of the day, it's not going to balance. You're right.
It is not going to be balanced. So there's no way that could have stayed in the system. You understand? That extend over months to a year and not being realized.
People them says a mistake on the report though. Them says a mistake on the report, not a mistake in the account. It's a mistake on the report.
All right. Well, all right. Since you said that, them put down here, them put the Citibank account and then put the number. Now, here's something else that's interesting. He has other US account, and them don't make no mistake on that. Him have a JN, him have a Nova Scotia USD savings account, $67,000. That would no mistake there. Him have a USD one with JN Bank, no mistake there. Then him have one with listen to this. Then him have the $713,000 that was for Citibank. Then him have a NCB USD for 51,000. No mistake. So all of them banks gonna make no mistake, but Citibank make a mistake. And what are they
Under
now? And you need to tell me now, say, him get him statements, and him no realize, say, wait a minute, a US dollars account this. Me not have no US dollar account with them. So why them I put US dollars in my account? It never dawned upon him. It never dawned upon him at all. Right? And him have Mrs. Chicken. And him have it 2022 to 2023. 2021 received to 2023. So people, that would, you know what this is like? This, what are the Kevin? You know what this is like, Kevin? You know what this is like? It's just like how them build the 4-bedroom apartments right down the street from where him live, and him not see nothing. Him not see it.
Here it is again. You're missing out on what is going on at the time. This is 2021, you said? What is he doing in 2021? Yeah. He's studying for his doctorate.
Mm-hmm. Is that the reason why I'm forgetting my 4 Scotiabank account?
Yes.
3 or 4 of them. Is that the reason?
COVID just hit. We have to come bring back Jamaica and studying for the doctorate.
Kevin, is that the reason that him forgets him have the account, even when him make transfers in and out of the account and him forget it?
Him have people doing that for him.
Oh, well, guess what happened? Your account. So guess who's responsible? You.
Yeah.
Mystic, help me out here.
Your account.
But
I got
I mean, when we seriously consider the situation as it relates to that particular line item that you mentioned, where the 700 and odd US dollars, right? Input into Andrew Wellness account. There's no way a mistake like that could have made, because that mistake would have realized on day number 1 at the end of the day. Because guess what? The system is not going to be balanced.
Right.
So you're going to have a serious deficit there.
So here's a question. Why is it that the Integrity Commission never follow up on this?
Well, all right. Put it this way, Ratty. I don't know if there's certain information that the Integrity Commission investigators are holding back. Right? The question that I'm asking, did the Integrity Commission investigators play their entire hand? I don't think so.
Yeah, but it should have been in the report. If you're going to submit this, and this is the sum total of everything that you've done in terms of resolving this issue. It's just like, I don't know what's wrong with these banks, because if this is the way they do it, I might open up a Jamaican account and see if we can get them change it to US, because remember now, Barita gave 50 million with no collateral. Remember, Barita gave him 50 million, no collateral. Him take the money and buy the collateral.
Yes, and that is serious. No, that is serious. Right? Because guess what? Ratty, what you need to stress on, what he had done as it relates to Barita, right? Giving him 50 million without any security. Remember, that was one of the behavior that caused FinSac, that him always talk about, That was one of the very same behavior that caused FinSac, Remember that Dan Crawford, right? And Edward Siaga. Edward Siaga borrowed X amount of money, right? No security there. Dan Crawford, issued money to his families without no securities. And here is Andrew Wellness. The funniest thing, is that Andrew Wellness is saying he's blaming the People's National Party for FinSac. And it is the doing of the Jamaica Labour Party activists at the time. Because Edward Siaga is not PNP. Edward Siaga, everybody know that, you understand, he's the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. And he borrowed $30 million, right? And said he forgot to pay back the loans. Right? Dan Crawford had loaned, right, his mother, father, uncle, and God, he knows family and friends monies without securities. And that is one of the reasons why FinSac have to make certain adjustment as it relates to non-banking entity, where one of the policies was for them not to issue any loans.
You know, the Prime Minister was up in Northeastern in Boston this week to receive his certificate.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's a PhD. I don't know if people say it's not a real PhD.
No, it's not a PhD. I think
Yes,
that makes some correction to it.
Right. But I'm wondering if he went and he visited Edward Seaga's gravesite, because I'm being told that Edward Seaga is not buried in Jamaica. He's buried with his family. They have a family plot up in Boston. So I don't know if the Prime Minister make a pit stop and went and say hello. But that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But this Prime Minister, truth be told, he has a lot of things to answer for. Because when we just read out a while ago how much money he earned, and we don't know of him winning the lottery or inheriting any money, and the numbers are just not matching up, what he earned and what he has displayed.
But Rafi, what you have to expound on is when the Prime Minister was in the Ministry of Education in 2008, the Prime Minister salary, I think, was $5.8 million.
We can't tell you. Hold on a second. Maybe try to
Look for it. Because if my memory serves me right, the Prime Minister, Andrew Owner's salary at the time in 2008 was only $5 million.
What year?
2008. When he was in the Ministry of Education.
2000 and Minister of Education, 5.3 million.
5.3 million, so I am correct.
All right. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. A dear friend of ours just wrote to me and said that people can borrow money and use their brokerage account as collateral. Well, here's the problem now, my dear friend.
Mm-hmm.
When they questioned the Prime Minister about the collateral, the Prime Minister said what? He used some shares. He said he used a piece of property, and he said he used an insurance account. When they checked, there was no insurance.
Exactly.
The shares, he bought the shares 2 weeks after he got the money. And the premises that he claimed was collateral, that premises was in, I think, Imperium's name, Imperium, and wasn't turned over until 6 months after him get the money. So he didn't use the brokerage account. And then what they found out that he had an account, some account with some shares of Barritas. And when they went and they said to Barrita, explain to us where him get these shares. Barrita said, we never sell him the shares. Him buy them on the stock market. So they went to the stock market and said, okay, we need the record, and we need to know how much he paid for it. They said, we only keep the numbers here of shares. We don't keep the value of the shares here. So we don't know. So this whole thing is, what them need for the man. It's still unraveling. It's still unraveling.
But Ratty, the Prime Minister getting $5.3 million in 2008.
Yes.
Right? How would the Prime Minister able to amass, as it relates to the ability of the Prime Minister buying over 3 properties, right, for more than $30 million?
Through ADMAT. The question is, where did the money come from to go to ADMAT?
Well, let me tell you something. And all right, the way I look at it, as it relates to how the money get into ADMAT, I could be wrong. Remember, people, I am presuming, I'm making a presumption. So let me say that clear. I have no evidence. Let me say that clear. But what I believe, Andrew Ratty, as it relates to how ADMAT attain its wealth, the illegal awarding of contracts to Gov't, and this is where the investigation need to go back to Ratty, right?
Mm-hmm.
The investigation need to go back in 2008, because right there, Ratty, I am telling you, that's where you understand you are going to now fix the puzzle.
We only have 1 minute left. We only have 1 minute left before.
Let me say it fast. the awarding of contracts to Gov't, and Gov't amassed over $30 million. I think that Gov't finds some way to reroute it to Andrew owners, to put into ADMAT.
Right. And here's something else that we haven't discussed. We haven't discussed his use of his foundation that he claimed is not really a foundation, but I'm using it as a foundation.
Here you go.
It's a big problem, violation of the Charities Act, because you cannot run a foundation in Jamaica without it being registered.
Without
he
it
was
being registered?
Yeah. And
So
nobody knows that's my feet.
So the Prime Minister is in serious trouble. No matter how you swing it, no matter which angle you come from, the Prime Minister is in trouble. And the only when we are going to know the truth is when the People's National Party get into power and a forensic audit being done on every one of the ministries.
Well, so Kevin Agosa, that means that Kevin said we're done. People, It's been a pleasure. It's been a blast. We will continue. We will continue. Mystic, bless up yourself. Thanks for your time.
All right. You're welcome.
Kevin.
All right.
Blessed.
Cool.